This is Linda. I am doing a tutorial for you on the RecipeBox from Digital and SVG Designs for You. This is their Farmhouse Kitchen Recipe Box. And first of all, I'm going to show you, this is the box completed. I have decorated it just with some rickrack. This is the jumbo rickrack. I've cut out one of the embellishments that is included in the kit, and I added a little gingham bow here. The lid removes, and it is lined, and I'll show you how to do that also, as well as the inside of the box. All I did was, to do my little embellishments, is I took some of the dividers and a recipe card and just shrunk them down to make little decorations for the front. Just glued this down on 3 sides so it made a little pocket. And the box fits nicely together. These are all of the pieces that you're going to need to print out, and I advise you using 65 weight cardstock. It's a good weight, and we're going to line our box, so it's going to be very strong. Here are your pages. Here's the box back, and this is its liner. We're going to cut this out and trace it onto our background paper. Here is the front of the box, and here is its liner, the lid, and the lid for the liner. These are your recipe cards. There are 10 pages, and there's 2 on each page, so that's 20. And what's nice about digitals, if you run out, you can just always print more when you need them. They come with 2 to a page, and they have their little tabs at the bottom for you to cut out, and I'll show you how to do that also. There's different little pictures, images, on each of the recipe cards, and they're very large, so if you're like me, I write kind of big, so I've got lots of room with these. But they are beautiful. A rolling pin with a little rose there. And I'll just do one of these for you, and then it's just kind of a cookie cutter type thing to do all of the rest. Here are the dividers that go behind, say you had one for muffins, one for main dishes, one for dinner, whatever. The tabs do come here, and here is your little printout of all the different names there that you could put on the front of your tabs. And these are the other embellishments that come with it. Isn't that beautiful? And again, you can all, put it in the printer, print as many as you want. These are the background pages you can use to line your box and the lid. This is a lined page that you can use to back your cards if you wanted your recipe cards. Let me grab one here. You would just fit it on there. As you can see, it fits, and you would just glue them together. And again, we will go over that also. Here is another one. It is smaller lines. Another decorative page that you can use to, you could back your dividers with it. If you don't need extra space on your cards, you could back it with that. But I do recommend backing with something so that it's nice and strong. That way it will stand up over time. So what you're going to need to do is get everything printed out. And we're going to get everything cut. Now when you're cutting, you can see the little tabs here. Be very careful that you cut right along and cut on the outside of the dark border here. And you can do this if you have a trimmer. You can just put it in your trimmer. Line it up where you want it. And then just cut it off. I would recommend cutting your tabs with your scissors. And if you don't have a trimmer, you can always use a ruler and an X-Acto knife and just line it up, slice it down, and cut it off. So that is what you're going to do. Put me on pause, and then you can come back and resume the video when you have all your pieces printed and cut out. Okay, we're back. So you've got all your pieces cut out. Now we're going to score them. Here's your little tabs. And if you have a scoreboard, that's great. It makes it much easier. If not, I'll show you other ways that you can do it. This is the stylus or score that comes with the scoreboard, but I prefer a stylus, and you want to use the larger end. And everything that you score is not always going to line up perfectly with the measurement. That's why I have drawn black lines on here so I can see the top and I can see the bottom as I line up my score lines. So we're going to put it, and when you line it up, you want the score line to be in the center of the dent, not one side or the other, right in the center. And it may sound a little intimidating, but it is not. And you'll just score down it, turn it, line it up, score down this. Anywhere there is a fold line is where you're going to need to score. And we're going to do that on all of our pieces. Here, this one lines up perfectly with 1. You can just score it. This one is at 3 5/8. There's none over here, of course. And turn it. And here's where we get where we're a little bit off. So let's just line it up. I'm lining it up with the 2 here. Black line is there for the 2. And we're just going to score down like this. And you can score them as we go, or you can score them all at once. That's up to you. Now, if you don't have a scoreboard, you can use a ruler, and I recommend a pretty heavyweight ruler. You would just put your ruler, line it up at the very edge of your image, take your stylus, and just run it down like that. If you don't have a stylus, you can also take it, just bend it, give it a good crease. I'm not rolling it over. I'm just pushing my finger along the edge of the ruler, like so. So, no fancy equipment needed. So we're going to start with building the box. We're going to fold all of our flaps in along our score lines. Make sure that your edges are lining up. And if you find that you have maybe scored something a little off, you can just rub it out. It'll still be there, but you won't be able to see it. You could just rub it out by going back and forth and then rescore it. So here's this. Now we're going to get the front. Do the same thing. I need another score line here I missed. So we're going to line it up. It matches perfectly with the 1 inch. And just score down. And I got the rest of them. I'm just going to fold everything in. And the way that we're going to put the recipe box together is that you never see any of these flaps. So the outside will be folded differently than the inside. So now we have our front and our back. Our front is the one with this, or if you prefer this is your front, it does not matter. The box will still be the same. It's just which way you turn it. It would be like this, or would be like that, whichever you want as your front. So on this, we're going to take, because this is going to be the outside, so we want our flaps to the inside, exactly opposite. So tabs fold inside. You can do that on all of them. You can push them down with your bone folder, or you could use your ruler, push them down. You can use a credit card, anything, the unsharpened edge of a butter knife, whatever, to crease them. That way you've got nice firm corners. So we're going to take our pieces here, and the box is going to go together like so. So we'll start with this one. Now, if you wanted to ink before we start, and I am an inker, as you can tell by my fingernails, they're always stained with ink. This is when you would go around, it makes it easier, and you would ink your edges. I like it, it just kind of covers up, because all cardstock has a white core. Very few of it doesn't. And you just ink it, and that way you don't have any ugly white edges sticking out. And you would do that on all of your pieces. So for now, we're going to glue it together. And this is my favorite glue. It's Aleene's Tacky Glue, and I like this lid because it's always ready to go. So we're just going to glue it here. And make sure you get all of, right up to your edge, not over it. If you do get some glue squished out, you can always wipe it up with a paper towel. I'll take this one because those are going to fold together. But you can use whatever glue you like. I just like this. It's a little bit thicker, so it doesn't bleed as much. Now here's our box. We're going to line it up. Turn it over, and you can flip and whatever you need as many times. What I like to do is line it up. Get the glue out of the way. Just line it up like so, making sure all my edges are even. Give it a push down and then test it. You can look, see how there's a little bit sticking out there? That tells me I just need to move it in just a little bit. And you can do this while the glue is wet. You've got some wiggle room there. And then we're going to fold it over in that other tab. This is the bottom of your box. We're going to glue it right down to here, making sure that your edges are even. That's the most important thing here, and that you're not having a little overlay. Check it, make sure that it's lined even, and then you can reach in here and give it a push. Get it all nice and firm, glued down. So now we can glue this side. A lot of people like to paint their glue on. I don't. I think that's overkill. It's a little too much. Your paper gets a little too soggy. But you can squeeze as hard as you want or as light as you want to control the flow of the glue. And we're going to bring that up. Make sure that our edges are perfectly even. Stick our hand in here. And you can double check it by looking at it at an angle there. And when you're happy with it, just turn it up and give it a press down. Always double check. And now this is the other side. We're going to glue both of the tabs at once. I hope I'm staying in camera here. I get involved at doing it and forget you need to see what I'm doing. And we'll glue the bottom one also. Make sure everything is on the inside. Line up the edges. Make sure they're perfect. As perfect as humanly possible. And sometimes you might have trimmed it a little bit off. This is where you can tweak it a little bit. We all do it. Push down. Make sure this is lining up properly. It is. And reach in and push that down. So all of your tabs are now to the inside. Nothing is showing on the outside. That's the outside of our box. Now we're going to get the liners. You're going to score those also down all your lines. I'm going to fold them over. I'll tell you what, let's make this a little bit easier for you guys. These are the templates for the liner for the inside of the box. And this is all of the background pages as we went through earlier. You can pick whichever print you want to trace. I picked this one, and you can print out, you're going to need 2 of these. What you're going to do is just line it up. Trace around it. If you want, you can trace it on the wrong side of your paper. But all your pencil lines can be rubbed out with an eraser. That one back there. And then we're just going to cut this out. And I'll get all mine cut out and I'll be right back. But you will trace all of your pieces, all of your inner pieces, your liner pieces, onto whichever decorative cardstock you want. And like I said, if you do them all, you may need 2 or 3 pieces, or you can alternate, line the top with one, the inside of the box with the other. That's totally up to you. So you can get that done and put me on pause. We'll be right back. Okay, before you leave to trace your paper, I want to show you another little trick. After you've cut out your liner, this is the liner for the lid. See the very dark lines? You can put this into your printer, take your blank piece of paper, put it in there, and be mindful, does your printer flop them like this, or does it just feed it in straight and print on this side? That depends on your printer. Anyway, you would put this in your printer, put your paper in, and then you don't have to trace. The lines on your liner will come out just like this. Now let's say that you accidentally cut off one of your black lines and you can't see where it is. Not a problem. Take a magic marker, if I can hold on to it, there we go, and just take it and run it down the edge like that and color the very edge with your marker. That way your printer will pick up that black line. So I've got all of my pieces printed out I've cut them out, and I have scored them. You're going to score them just like you did on the front of our box. These are the liner pieces. So we're going to fold them all on our score lines. Excuse me. Now, when we fold these, because this is the inside, and it's going to be like this, we need to fold all our flaps inward. So that when we make our box, everything will be, this will fit like so. And it will actually, you fold it inside. When it comes down and you put your top, it will be on the bottom. So that's what we need to do with all of our pieces. And again, you can burnish your edges if you want to make them nice and crisp. And as I previously said, there's all kinds of things you can use. You can even use your scissors. Just make sure it's nothing sharp that will cut into your paper. And here we have all of our liner pieces. And we're going to put it together exactly the same way as we did for our other piece. We're just going to make another little box. Get mine folded. I tell you to do one thing and I do exactly the opposite. There we go. Now it matches. So we're going to glue on our little tab there. And these tabs are going to go on the outside. Like so. So we want to get both of these. So you're actually gluing on the design side of your paper. And we're just going to line it up again. Making sure it all fits nicely. It's kind of hard for you to see inside the box there. But I'll do my best. Try not to get my head in the camera, which I'm notorious for doing. And just give it a press. Flip it around. Bend it so that your bottom is fitting right up against the side. And kind of push it with your fingers if you want, like so. And then, when you're happy with it, give it a press down. And we get the other side. And I know it might be a little confusing to put glue on your design page, but that's the way it needs to be done. But your brain kind of wants to flip it the other way and glue on the wrong side. But we don't want our tab showing. I'll just bring it underneath. If you can see in here. Get all the pieces out of your way. There you go. And you're going to line it up. Just give it a little push with your hand so that it's butted firmly up there. And when you're happy with it, just press it down. You can flip and flop. That's what you're going to be doing, turning it around so that you can work with it. And we can do the same thing. This is our other end. Oops. Got to cut off one of my corners. And another tip if you're cutting them with your scissors or on a trimmer, Never cut your score line off. Cut just to the outside of the score line. And if you make a mistake and just give up on that piece, that's okay. I've done the same thing. We all have. Just print yourself out another one, and now you know what you did wrong, and you can do it correctly the next time. Because this is supposed to be fun. It's not supposed to be hard. And you can pause and replay as many times as you want. If it's your first time putting a box together, and bend it around like so, making sure that our edges are meeting up. Like I said, the glue gives you some wiggle time. You want to make sure that it's pressed up against there. Just reach in there and push it down. Then you can fold it over, making sure that your corners are aligning. And I don't always get them right the first time either. There you go, and there's our liner. No tabs. All the tabs are on the outside. So we have our box, we have our liner, and we're just going to put it down inside. You don't want to stick it way down in there or you won't fit, so just kind of put it there, get it going, and push it down. There you go, perfect fit. Now what we're going to do, because we don't want our divider, our liner, excuse me, sliding out, is we'll go back and right on the edges, and this is where you need a paper towel in hand. We're just going to put some glue along the top edge all the way around the box. It can be a little fiddly, but you'll get used to it. If you get any on your paper, just wipe it off with a paper towel as soon as you see that what you've done, because I do it too. You don't need a whole lot of glue, just to make sure that it's covered. And then you want to line it up, make sure that there's nothing sticking over the edge. You can just push it down as needed. Pull it up as needed so that it aligns perfectly. It's lining up good. Now, because I'm an inker, this is where I would ink all of these edges so that you don't see the white. I just don't like the white showing. And that is true for 99% of the paper you get. It's going to have a white core, so when you cut into it, it shows the white. There's our box. Now, it says on the thing that this is your front. If you don't want that your front, you can make this your front. It's your box. You pick and choose which you would like. Now we're going to do our lid. Here's our liner. Here's our lid. Just going to fold. And we're basically going to do the identical thing that we did for the box. All going to fit together like so. Tabs go to the inside. So that's what it will look like. Let's get that going. The only glue you need is on your little tabs. and leave it to me. I did it backwards. Let me grab a paper towel here. Talking, not paying attention. No harm done if you do it. Just wipe the glue off, because we need the glue on the tab side. Sorry about that. See, we all make mistakes. I've made a bazillion boxes and I still mess up. Usually I'm not talking when I'm making my boxes. But no harm, no foul. All works perfectly. You get them lined up. Make sure your edges are lined perfectly. And then sticking over. When you're happy with it, just give it a good press. And a lot of people use their bone folder if you want to press it down even more. I don't feel that's necessary, but if you like to do it that way, you go right ahead. Won't hurt a thing. Let's see if we can do this one correctly. Edge, make sure that they're lined up perfectly. Remember, no flap hanging over. You can get your fingernail in there and kind of push it around as needed. And there's the outer part of our box. Now we're going to do our liner. Folding it along the square lines. This time, when we glue it down, it's going to go in here. So we're going to make sure, and I always double fold these both ways. Just makes it a little bit flexible. The paper gets the tightness out of it where you can work with it a little bit better. Just bend it over to the other side. And this is here, no there. You don't have to bend both sides if you don't want. I just do that. And we're going to glue these to the outside so that when it fits in, we have no tabs showing. So we're going to repeat. Fold it over. Sure that your edges are aligned here. Put it right up against it. Give it a good press. in. Again, make sure your edges are aligning here. And there's our liner. Just going to slip it inside of our lid here. It can be a little fiddly, as in all things. Got so many pieces you need to just kind of get it in there because we want it snug. If it's not snug, then you've got things flopping around and they're not going to work out so well. Press down in here. Just kind of bend it into the corners. And we're going to glue it down again. If you find it's a little bit too snug fitting for you and you don't want to fiddle with it that much, then cut your black lines off instead of cutting on the outside of them. And that helps a little bit. Gives you a little bit more room to play with. I'm going to line it up. Your edges are even, nothing's hanging over. I'm making this harder than what it is. I think I got one of my score lines off just a little bit. That's why it's presenting me problems. Problems I created myself. Here we go. In doing this, I've fiddled with them so many times. I think it would be better if you did cut your lines off. It would fit a little bit better for you and you wouldn't have to keep going back and forth like I'm doing here, which is not the design, it is me. Oops, missed a little spot there. And there we've got it inside. Take our lid, put it on our box. if I can fit it up. Here we go. Like I said, I got a little bit off on my score line. That's why we're having a little bit. But once you get it, wants to go on there, the paper has memory and it will go right back the way it was. So there we are. There's our box with its lid. Now we're going to go to our recipe cards. I've already cut mine out, and I have selected the lined paper. In case I want to make notes, add an ingredient to a certain recipe, use less, use more, whatever, I can make my notes. So I'm just going to take it, line it up, glue it down. Make sure you get your edges so that they don't lift away from each other. And when it's big gaps, you don't want, like if you can see the glue here, you don't want a gap like that. You want some ink, or excuse me, I'm so used to inking. You want some glue in there so that there's not a big space between where your glue is. Just makes your card more durable, keeps it from ever bubbling over time. And we're just going to line it up here. Try to keep my head out of the camera, which I'm not good at, but there we go. And just trim it off. I know this is a little noisy. It's even amplified on video. Push it up right to your wire. Cut it off. So here we go. Now we can leave it like this, or I like to put tabs on my recipe cards, and then I can either write on it, or you could use one of the little name tags that are provided in the kit, whatever you would like to do. I'm just going to cut these out. And again, you can use scissors if you don't have a trimmer, or you can use a craft knife and a ruler. I have done that also. Now, you can score down here, or you can just fold. Get your bottom edges lined up. Give it a little press. And you can use your bone folder if you want and really get that down. And then why you want to fold it before you cut out the little tabs on each one instead of cutting it out like this. This way they're both going to be perfectly aligned. And if you turn your hand under your scissors as you cut, especially on curves, it does much better. And just go slow, slow as you need to go. There's no big rush. Now, if you wanted to do your inking like I do, this is where you would do that. We're going to take our tab and we're going to line it up. And say this was my sauces or pastries, whatever, salads, whatever. You could take them and just line them where they're all staggered. You could even put two of the recipe cards back to back. Cut out another one, glue it on the back instead of the lined paper, and then you could just put another tab, and you'd have two cards in one. I'm going to glue right up to the little square edge there. And we'll start this one on the edge there. Make sure that it is even. need to glue this again because this part right here will overlap it, and it's got glue on it. Flip it over. And there you have it. Now, if you wanted to ink, this is what it looks uninked. This is what it looks inked. So it's up to you. And I just used Distress ink. There's a little pad. I use Vintage Photo. You can use whatever color. Red would even be nice, or a dark pink to pick up the pinks in the images. You can just cut whatever label you want or write on here with a marker or something. And you would do the same to your dividers that we have done with the recipe cards. Here's the divider. We could take a piece of the decorative paper, glue it down, or we could take another divider, glue it on there. We could glue lines on there, the lined paper that we just used. If you want to flip it over and you've got a list of all the recipes that are in that divider, we do the same thing. Cut out our little tab and put it on the top. So there is our box and our cards. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope that I've made it easy for you.